And welcome back, everybody, to the channel. It is the most earth-breaking, ground-shaking, but never media shell money taking. The man, the myth, the legend, the most electrifying YouTuber in all of YouTuber entertainment today, and podcaster, YouTuber, which this movie goes towards. I want to talk about a movie that didn't disappoint me this week. As you guys know, was not the biggest fan of Scream 7. So I went into this movie not knowing how exactly I was going to feel. I was interested by all of the previews, but I wasn't quite sure if this is going to be one of those possession movies or something like that. Something that just I've seen 1,000 times before. But I'm going to talk about this movie Undertone. Now, a little bit later, I may get into some spoilers, and the banner will be down below to let you to pop out, go see the movie. This here is going to be my spoiler-free thoughts in the beginning, and then I really got to dive into the nitty-gritty of exactly what makes this movie so terrifying. So this movie is in the vein of a lot of these sort of smaller budgeted movies, and this movie was picked up by A24, which always will make an interesting movie. And A24 has made some bangers. Uh, they've been on a hot streak. You know, they got Talk to Me with the Philippe brothers, and of course, Bring Her Back. And then you've got some A24 films that just suck. But I think this movie, and especially these kinds of movies and these ideas, are where A24 shines. So, Undertone is a film about a young uh, bunch of people that are podcasters. Evie, played by Nina Kiri, and Justin, played by Adam DiMarco, where they have a horror podcast where Evie is the skeptic and Justin is the guy who brings these creepy things, and they debunk whether or not the what they're listening to is true or whatever they're talking about is real. We've all seen them. Maybe even you're subscribed to some of those podcasts. Um, but this movie distinct because a lot of these horror movies, or at least the memorable ones, have these gimmicks. Skinamarink was a gimmick with imagery. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I think this movie is going to land in that kind of pocket of movies. Like one of the movies that I loved from the previous years, Good Boy. This is a very niche concept. So Undertone deals with sound. And the big star of this movie is the sound design and the soundscape. But before I jump into that, I want to talk about the basic things that I say before I dive into what really is the star of this movie, and that is the soundscape, and not so much the score, really, but what you are hearing all around you. So first off, to just kind of get the characters out of the way, there's 7, and we really only see, or we're in the perspective of one, played by Nina Kiri, is Eve, and or Evie, and this actress is actually from I wish I knew she looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. She's actually in the show The House, the Handmaid's Tale. So that was kind of interesting seeing her. And the dude who plays Justin, or her friend, is Adam DiMarco, who I have seen from White Lotus, but he's also in The Magicians, The Order, and of course the hit show The White Lotus. So very interesting. The two leads are pretty competent, is what I'm saying. As far as the characterization and enough, the movie does do a good job with giving you kind of a background to give a shit about what's going on to these people. As far as the visuals, because I want to get that out of the way, because I'm going to spend quite a bit of time talking about more of the audio, because that is really the star of this movie. The visuals, for being minimalistic, are very good. This movie does a lot of trick of not of the light, because there's a lot of darkly lit scenes. As a matter of fact, I would say like a good 85% of this movie is mostly in the dark, but the camera work is very reminiscent of one of my favorite movies. This might be a hot take, but you guys know I'm a Nicolas Cage whore, Long Legs. what Osgood Perkins did with the camera in particular. I'm not talking about how you feel about the movie. I'm talking about the camera work specifically. There's a lot of wide shots, a lot of very focused in specific areas of the house that really plays tricks on you. And I got to say, starting off right away, there's been a lot of hype around this movie. Is this the scariest movie of the year? The fucking year isn't over. I can't tell you. People and horror is very subjective. Is this a good movie? Yes. I think this is a very good movie, but is it scary? Now, to me, I have not been as uneasy in a film in about, I'd say, 6 or 7 years. Look, guys, I'm old. I've seen every great horror movie that there is to see. The first one that ever terrified me was the Ridley Scott classic Aliens. And the best I can do is this gave me the feeling that Alien gave me as a kid first watching that movie, where it's very uncomfortable to watch this film. There are several points in this movie, and I'll probably rewatch it again, where I have no clue if I actually saw something or if it was the way the camera is positioned and the way they focus in on the dark. My mind was projecting something that's not there. Or maybe it's what they did like in Long Legs with images being in there and just kind of shuffled through. But there's a certain point in this movie about the midway scene where, and I saw this once again with the little one, where I felt like I saw something that made me jump. And I haven't jumped in my seat in quite some time. And here's the thing, for as much as this movie focuses on audio, the audio is not loud and obnoxious. Really, it's the subtle ways that the audio is used and how everything is highlighted, from someone clicking a cabinet to putting something down. It's these little details that make you feel uncomfortable while watching the film. Now, a fair warning, if you are sensitive to noises, this is probably not going to be the movie for you, considering this movie's main gimmick is the ambient sound. But there's a big difference that I want to highlight here, being a horror fan. There's a difference between obnoxiously loud sounds that are specifically designed after a couple of moments of quiet to make you jump, and then unsettling ambiance noise, which is little things in the background, little shots, and then the sound accompanies the shot. These are the things that craft a very tense scene. Now, I will warn you with this. There's about 10 to 15 minutes of this movie that's not, like, in the beginning, it's not engaging because you want to know, especially the way they give you the information of what's going on. But this is a slow burn film. But the payoff is worth it. And I'll get to that when I get into the spoiler part of this review. So the visuals, they're very good. The angles of the camera, there's especially a shot in here where it gives the appearance of walking through one room. Like, you see this character at one angle, and then you like walk all the way through to come at the reversed angle. The camera work, for as minimal a visual as this is absolutely fantastic. A good amount of tight end shots that frame people's expressions very well. The actress who plays Evie is very good. Nina Kiri does a great job expressing and conveying the emotions she needs to express and convey. All of it is very well handled as far as that goes. So that's good. Let's talk about before I cap off my spoiler free, let's talk about the sound. The sound in this is the star of this movie. So there's a very interesting thing that they do in this film, and if you've seen the trailers, it's part of the gimmick. She hosts this podcast with her friend Justin, and we're hearing what she hears, essentially. And so you hear the ambient noise, her walking, putting stuff down, going to her desk to set up, and then she puts the earphones on, and you literally when she puts the earphones on, everything in the background goes silent as if somebody is putting their headphones on. Like you are listening to exactly what she is listening to. The voices are done cleverly because the phone call in a movie that tries to do something like this, that does not have as great sound work as this movie has, they would have had the voice sound far away, like we're listening to the phone call. In this movie, it sounds like the person is sitting directly across from her because remember, we are hearing the movie from the perspective of the character. Therefore, for her, it would sound like if you were sitting here streaming and you had your earphones in or your headset in and you were listening to your friend in your ear. And that is what makes it so intense. There is several points where she'll be doing something else and we're hearing it specifically how the noise would sound. I do not know who did the sound on this film, but they did a fantastic, hold on. Let me see. I have the music. I would love to know who does the soundscape on this because the person who is responsible for the sound in this movie is an absolute mad genius. This movie has some of the most intense scenes, and I'll get to that in my spoilers. But the really intense moments, the sound is not loud, but it is subtle and it adds to whatever is going on in the scene. Now, this sounds like basic horror 101, but if any of you have watched as many horror movies as I have, you know, horror movies tend to lean into a big loud noise and then a sudden image to scare you. That's the whole thing. They build up this tension. This movie never has what I would like to refer to as a release. And what I mean by that is normally the jump scare is a release or something like that. But because the sounds themselves are almost realistic in the way that they portray them as a human being would hear it, you don't get that loud jolt. There's one scene, and I'll get to that does kind of a jump scare or a loud noise, but it's not because it is very much, it's part of a dream sequence. So it's tough to explain. You'll understand when you see it, but there's virtually no jump scares in this movie. Everything is very much environmental noise. It's the clicking of a clock. It's things being moved around, a tea kettle. It's very hard for me to sit here and exactly describe to you without going into details exactly what makes the noise scary, but the noise is the soundscape is the big star here. Now, my gripe would be, and I think a lot of people have mentioned this, the ending, I think, is going to be what will determine and be most talked about on how people feel about this. But the quality of the movie, the tension it builds, and what it leads to, I think is done well. And me personally, I don't have a problem with the ending, but I do have some questions that maybe are intentionally left ambiguous in the film. I think that is the point of this movie. I just would have liked to have gotten a tad bit more of an answer to, or a resolution, and I'll leave it at that. You'll understand, and when you see the movie and you go back through it, and you can give me what your thoughts on or what has happened. Also, this is a type of movie you could watch again because I feel like there's a lot of clues and things mixed into this and exactly what the ending is. And there's a good bit of the ending that I would like to hear again, and you'll get what I mean by that when you get to the end of the film. But I would need to almost like do what this movie does and play back some sounds and things like that to see if I could hear because that's, yeah, it's tough to talk about without spoiling it. So Undertone right now might be my favorite scary movie that I've seen so far. And I'm going to say this one is probably it's going on my top 10 list, and it'll probably be very high up. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a number one to me, but at least a top 5, maybe even a top 3, if I'm being completely honest, because I have not been this unnerved from a film in many years. This movie is so suspenseful, and once you get into the recording and them listening to it, it's mesmerizing, and the things that are connected to it are very interesting. It opens up a lot of things that I've always said that is very interesting. I'll talk about that in spoilers. I'm going to give this movie a solid, the first number that jumped into my head, and it's not a 10 just because of how ambiguous the ending is, and maybe if I dig into it and watch again, it'll change. But I'm gonna give this movie an 8. I was teetering on 9, but I think I want to give it an 8 just to revisit it and see if maybe I can jump it up from there. But honestly, this is a solid. I'm gonna give this movie an 8. It was very, very unnerving. Both me and my daughter were very unnerved by this movie. This is the first movie I've watched in years that made me uncomfortable, and the first movie that made me jump without a loud noise. There's a scene that makes me jump in this movie, and you guys can tell me if you've seen this, but it's not even a loud noise in the scene. It's completely quiet, but there's a flash, and I swear to God, I saw something. And it's about halfway through the film. So at this point, there's been a lot of things. And I don't know if it was my mind and the way they focused on this particular thing, and my mind filled in something, or if there was something actually there. But I swore that the flash, it was very creepy and sudden, and it got me. And that's the biggest compliment I could give to this movie. I haven't been in a movie that's kept me tense for literally the whole runtime. This movie's an hour and a half, which is a great pocket, little pocket 1.5 hour movie, and it knows what it is. And even with that, it takes its time to build to this ultimate reveal. And I think that what horror has been missing is things like this. This is a slow burn, tension, winding type of film that just ratchets it. And I am still feeling uneasy after watching this movie, and especially leaves with a lot of questions of what exactly everything is, how things went. Like, I'm trying not to give away the ending, but by the time you reach that, and you get to when shit goes haywire, it gets to this point where you're like, wow. And I haven't walked out of a movie just not to sound like a wuss here, kind of shaken up, a little nervous, because just the sound in this is the star. This movie is very much a movie based around sound, and how they utilize it is brilliant. This proves you don't have to do loud noises and annoying shit to get an audience unnerved. You can have little things, little sounds, and focus them on something, and your mind will fill in the gaps. And I think when I got scared in about the halfway point of this movie, or when I jumped, I don't know if it was my mind playing tricks or if they threw an image in there that was actually there. I'd have to rewatch the movie and see if I see it again. But there's a particular image in this movie that scared the ever living shit out of me. And there's no sound. It just flashed, and I jumped a little bit because I was like, oh, is that actually there, or is it not there? And I think the other strength of this movie is hearing what the character hears through the headset. You start to kind of feel that anxiety that the character is feeling, which is very key to these movies. You're like locked in, and you're sitting there going, what the fuck? Is this real? Like, is she just hearing things? But you can't distinguish it because you're hearing this whole entire movie through this character. There's no switching perspectives. There's no rest. So it keeps you tense for an hour and a half of this movie, which hats off to this director. Very, very well done. So the visuals are very good. The audio is the star of this, and the actress does a great job. Now, there are really only two people. Well, there's four people that are important. That's Nina Kiri, who plays Evie, Adam DiMarco, who plays Justin. They're the primary ones running this podcast, but also there are the recordings, which has the voice of Keana Lynn Bastidas, who is Jesse, and Jeff Young, who is Mike, and both of them as well, for just hearing what kicks this thing off is fucking creepy. And especially the way they build through each of these recordings and each night they're listening to this. And as it's amping up, even the level that they're intensifying is done very well. The pacing of this movie is great as well. Now, I'm just going to warn you, it is not this fast-paced thing in the beginning, but I think the slow build was a smart choice, because it's almost like when they're doing this and then you're hearing the degrading of the audio, but also it's mirroring these podcasters as they're following through. So it's kind of like this steady buildup, which is what a horror movie should do. And I can't believe it's been years since I've had something that builds such tight tension right away, and just ratchets it. And I felt like leaving the theater. I think that's the biggest thing. Even with the climax, that there was no release. It just kind of leaves you like going, like, that's like literally me and my daughter looked at each other and we were like, wow, like, because there's a lot of ambiguity as well. So, yeah, it's the opposite of most horror movies I've seen, where the goal is to get to the end of the movie, to have a release of the tension, then to have something happen. Like, that's the structure. But this one just kind of builds, and there's no release valve. There's just more tension. And it's just, you basically leave it tense. So if you get stressed easily, this isn't good. Also, if you're not a big fan of a lot of noises, and I don't mean like it's like noisy, like, I don't know, cars passing or stuff like that, but it's very much plays on your audio senses. So if that bugs you, you might not be a fan of this, especially the balls out third act. So my non-spoiler thoughts are, this is a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And I think this is a movie that deserves to be watched in the theater, especially because of the way that the sound is around you. It makes you feel that you are with them, that you are this person listening, and that builds so much tension. And I think in about the midway point of the movie starts messing with you as a viewer, because you're sitting there looking at these shots going, is there fucking something there? Or am I just being affected by what is happening? And that's, I mean, yeah, this is just in general a very, very good put together horror movie. And I'm just going to say it now. This is probably going to be in my top 3 for this year. I know a lot of people are going to talk, I think the ending, and I'll get to that when I do spoilers, but I think the ending is going to be the biggest thing that's going to make or break your experience. I think it ended perfectly, and it made me want to rewatch it so I can kind of dissect it. But this is a movie that's going to stick with me. And I'm still feeling very uncomfortable, and I knew I had to shoot something right away to express it while I got these amped up things before I kind of calm down and do my own thing. But yeah, this movie was excellent. I really enjoyed it. Definitely check out Undertone. Now, I want to dive deeper into the soundscape and kind of give a breakdown of a couple of things that got to me. So if you don't want the movie spoiled, then this is your chance to jump out and give it an 8 out of 10. Go check the movie out, and then you can come back through and see what you think of what I thought about it, going deeper into the movie. But yeah, we're going to get into spoilers because there's some specific things I want to highlight, and the moment that scared me, I will tell you in my spoiler, because it is about midway through this movie. So this is the banner. we're entering spoilers in case you don't want it spoiled, or if you don't want to see the movie, or if you have seen the movie and you're like, what the fuck? I need somebody to talk to. I need a counseling session. I need a hug. I need some hot cocoa, maybe Snickers. Stay. And I'm going to give you my thoughts, and let's dive into this right now. So, holy fucking shit, what is this movie actually about? So the premise of this movie is that this movie is about these podcasters who dive into some dark shit, or the creepy elements of the internet. They receive this recording, and it's 10 recordings, and the recordings are this couple named Jessa and Mike, and basically something is happening to them, and our brave podcasters are listening to it as it's going on. Now, I'm not going to go over every single scene blow for blow. I'll be here for a while, but the Cliff Notes is the main character, Eva. Her mother is dying, and she is taking care of her on her last days. She's mute. She can't speak. And Jess and Justin is her friend. There's kind of a hint that maybe they're more than friends, whatever. And she has found out that she is pregnant. And so as we dive into this, what is this about? Well, there is an entity called Azu, thank you. The little dictator helped me. There is an entity called Azu, and it is rooted in folklore and myth. There is various things about it, from Christianity to Muslim, to Islamic, to all sorts of stuff. Basically, the general gist is that it is this person who was jealous of people who had kids, so she murdered a bunch of kids, and in Jerusalem she was murdered, and so her vengeance lives on, and whoever hears this or says this kind of particular thing, the entity comes and kills or makes the mother kill the child, possibly people who are around them, because fuck, the boyfriend always gets it, right? I'm ever fucked in that situation. And so what I was talking about and what scared me is, particularly halfway, I'd say about the 40-minute mark in the movie, there is a scene where it's pitch black and she's kind of facing her back from us, but the shot is in the foreground. And for a second, I saw a white outline, which the mother is wearing like a white hospice gown. So it almost looked like she was materialized there and wasn't. And this made me jump. Now, here's why it made me jump, because there's no sound in this particular scene. It's not a jump scare. It's not or bang or boom. It's just a flash of an image really quick that I may or may not have saw. And that is really the key of this movie. As we amp up, as we go through, and the recordings become progressively more disturbing, with the boyfriend first suspecting his girl just talking in her sleep. So they're a cute couple. They're clearly happy. And as it goes, it's a degeneration of their relationship because of this thing happening to them. But also there starts to be a almost hallucination caused by this auditory thing. And there's a cool point when they first listen to it where you hear a loud ringing that comes through her headset, because you're listening through the podcast. And then I believe at that point, that's when these events started happening. And then she starts to notice little things. Her mom has this like statue of the Mother Mary with the kids all praying towards her and everything. And every time she fucking moves this thing, it moves back. You know, the typical demonic possession stuff. Now, I don't know if this exactly falls in demonic possession. If it does, it's very creative. And the person exactly, I don't know if they're possessed or whatnot. It's hinted that they start to sort of lose themselves as this goes on. But there is a thing with nursery rhymes. And folks, this will make you not ever fucking want to ever read or sing your child these nursery rhymes, because, and I looked this shit up, a lot of this stuff, they're like, if you play them in reverse and shit like that, there's fucked up shit in the songs. Like, Baba Black Sheep has licked the blood off their hands. It's fucking crazy, like Ozzy shit, like playing an album backwards and hearing shit in reverse. That kind of thing is what we're into. But another particular scene, and why I'm doing spoilers, is there's a scare in this that's not a jump scare, but fucking terrifying, and actually got both me and the younger dictator, where she's in her room with her mom. Now, keep in mind, the mom is comatose. She is literally waiting for her mom to die. She's like on death's door. She can't speak. She doesn't eat. She's barely eating or drinking anything. We're talking like end of days. This is it. And there's a scene where she's sitting on the bed and she's doing something off the side to the counter, and the mother like sits up and turns. But here's the thing, it's not a jump scare, but you hear tiny noises. And that's what I'm talking about in this movie, with ambient sound is the star of this. Because what's scary about it is not that they jolt you with a sudden loud bang, but there's little noises, like her neck is fucking cracking when she turns to look at her. It's like, and then she just has this look on her face. And that scared the ever-loving fuck out of me, compared to if I'm watching a movie and someone just goes, wah, or boom. You know, it's whoever did the sound in this understood exactly what makes horror scary. What makes these kinds of movies scary is not hearing this loud, obnoxious noise, but it's hearing things that you may or may not have heard. It's, did I hear steps, or was it just the wind? That is what amps up. That's what terrifies people. That's what makes them scared. It's not this. It's not the release of a bang or knowing exactly what it is. It's the not knowing. And what this movie does particularly well is fuck with you for an hour and a half. You do not know. And this goes back to the audio files. And I think my daughter said this the best, so I'm going to quote her. Playing the audio files, hearing it was a brilliant idea than them showing us what happened to this couple, because your mind is filling in the blanks and creating the image of what you think is going on as these audio files become crazier and crazier and darker and fucking creepier, and you have no visual. So you are in your head trying to put together in your mind, like, oh, what's going on? Like there's a faucet ringing. Did he go to check it? And it just kept on ringing. Like, we don't get to see it though. We're just hearing it. And I don't know why no one ever tried something like this, because it's brilliant. Because now it's up to you as an audience member to piece together the chain of events with these obscured audio files. But also now that there's other things in the background, right? There's parts, they call them like bumps. And when I do editing, it's like when something particular happens in the audio, like a, boom, boom, something like that. That's a bump in the audio. It's like a spike in the audio. They like do the thing where they like, highlight the audio clip and then they enhance it. And there's things in the background. There's the girl saying stuff in reverse. And then there's an underpin of like these kids singing London Bridge is Falling Down or Baba Black Sheep and all this fucking creepy shit. And, that's the other thing in this too. And a big facet of this. And I probably say, being a parent, the most disturbing thing is the aspect of the kids. This entity, whatever it is, takes the kids. It's jealous of mothers having kids, being lucky to be blessed to be pregnant. So it forces the mother to kill the child. What's effective is they don't show this, but there is one visual, a dream she has, where she is sitting on the steps and she's bleeding and she's looking at her hand. Like it's planting that seed, but it never shows any of that. Does not show you. As a matter of fact, honestly, the amount of actual gore or graphic violence in this is very minimal, but I felt like it was so intense, and it's probably because your mind is filling all of this stuff in. And especially when shit goes balls to the wall crazy in the last 20 minutes. So once again, spoilers. If you don't want to hear the ending, I gotta say it. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. So they get this file. It's encrypted, and the file spells out what was the name of the thing? Abzu. Let Abzu in is what this file makes. And the best friend doesn't want to fucking open number 10. And of course, nobody ever listens to a friend, you know, that whole trope. But it gets to this point where the girl goes, she's listening. I gotta save her, as if she was listening to the girl who apparently died before they started listening to this audio file. This couple died. It was as if she was trying to warn her through these phone recordings to not listen to the 10th audio, which is what she's listening to as this warning is happening. And then the fucking lights start going out, and we kind of get it's almost like two images. It almost appeared to me like what the character thinks she sees, and then it's flashing to what's actually happening. And she's drawing the image of this woman who steals these fucking kids. And then shit starts to play on the television, and it's this red thing with this woman's face, and her eyes are opening and going black. But here's the thing, there's no sound. There's even a part where she screams, but they don't play the scream. And it's very intentionally done. And that's what I'm saying, where the sound is excellent in this movie, because they could have that, but instead it's terrifying because she's screaming, but there's no sound. It's all cut out. And the headphones are still on, so you're not hearing the stuff in the background, and they're intentionally not playing it because she has the headset on. She wouldn't hear what's in the background. You hear her friend, Justin, begging, saying, "Is everything okay? I'm coming over there. You know, I'm gonna come in, and I'm gonna come in, and I'm gonna find you," or whatever else. But we don't know if he's hallucinating, because obviously he has been listening to the same thing. And so we don't know if he even, because at this point, whatever the entity is, it is clearly fucking with reality, warping what these people are seeing. And so we don't even know if maybe he thinks he's going to save her and some own shit is happening. Plus, they kind of dropped the hint that he has a girlfriend. So who the fuck knows if she isn't flipped out or he isn't killing her. It's fucking nuts. The lights go out. She goes up into the room. The mother's fucking bed is empty. Now, this is what I wanted to highlight in the spoilers and what makes this terrifying. Now, they could have did the whole thing where there was a jump scare, but what made us more unsettled and unnerved is you are seeing her and she is saying, "Mom, Mama," and we see a like one of those bedroom mirrors that are on a closet door, and we see the mother in the bathroom behind them by the tub, like starting the water. And now the legend goes that this person drowns, or these people suffocate, they get bags over their head, or they drown the kids or something like that. Now, what I'm taking away from this, when I said I was going to go into my theories, was that the mothers kill their firstborn. And I'm guessing that, being that her mother was still alive, she was going to drown her. And here's the thing, she is pregnant, and she just found this out as the movie went through, about halfway in. And so then the lights flicker out, and then the movie is still going, but it's pitch black, and we're here going, "Mom, Mama, Mama," and a loud fucking bang and like a dragging. But here's the thing, the noises aren't loud. The bang is loud, as if someone like maybe got slammed on the floor. This is what I'm saying, like your mind is filling in what's going on. Like maybe she got slammed on the floor. It's almost like it's making its own audio recording. So the visuals cut out, and it sounds like someone's being dragged across the floor. You hear scream, "Mama, Mama." You hear all of these other noises, like things being shuffled, something being moved around. And then the very ending is you hear babies crying, you hear Baba Black Sheep and London Bridges falling down and all the shit they've been talking about. And then you hear her, and finally a scream of, "Wow!" Boom, black. credits. And the thing of it is, there's a buildup, but the ending is so quick and hits so fast. And it's not in a jarring way, but it's in a startling way where you knew, you were anticipating this was coming. Like, this is the end of the movie. You know that there's going to be a big kind of reveal. But you don't see what happens to her or my man Justin. I choose to believe Justin saved her. That's my fucking canon ending. He RIP most of my boy Justin. But anyways, you don't see what happens to her. You don't really get an idea. You get some calls where somebody calls and they said they knew the couple that was on the tape. They both died. It was ruled as like maybe a double suicide. There were bags over their heads. So that's your vague resolution to this if you're listening too closely to phone calls, and then you don't actually see what happens to her. So the other scary thing is that the last bit of this is through a live podcast. So in theory, this thing has been sent to multiple people, right? And this is where I kind of compared it to Smile 2 in that ending, where they're live streaming these last two parts, and the last video unleashes the entity onto you. So that means whoever was listening to the podcast at the time, because they split it into two parts, they played the first 5, or no, the first 8. Yeah, they played the first 8 in one part, and they did the last 2 on a live stream while taking calls. So that means that everybody who is listening to the live stream, and then it saves the recording and everything. So everybody who's going to listen to the podcast after that is going to be absolutely positively fucked. And it's going to spread to other people because of the platform and it being an audio thing. And I thought that was pretty clever. It's kind of the reverse of what Smile did, because spoilers for Smile 2, if you haven't seen it, that was an excellent movie. But she dies during a live stage performance. And the notion is that now this creature is out and it's going to infect a bunch of people because she died in one of the biggest performances. And it was probably on TV and streamed and all that stuff. So we're all fucked. In this, it's a very subtle, but still just as scary, because they had like something like I think it was like a couple thousand listeners or whatever, 2.1K, something like that. They had a bit of a good base. So everybody who's listening, people who called in, everybody who participated in this stream, they are all fucked. And so it gives you a beginning, middle, and end. It caps it off. It's a nice little one-off. This isn't going to be a thing where we're going to have an Undertone 2. It's just kind of like a little self-contained story. But it also leaves so much for you to try to figure out yourself. And that's why I said this ending is going to be a little divisive on who likes this movie and who doesn't, because it's one of those endings that either you're vibing with it and you go, holy shit, I really like this, or it's going to be an ending where you're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I got no answers. And I'm going to be very intrigued to see who exactly appreciates what I think this movie is doing, which it's very masterful. Even the cutting it off and keeping it black and just letting you hear the ending is brilliant, because I think showing the creature or showing what her ultimate fate is would have diminished what this movie is clearly trying to set up. It's much more of to me, a brilliant idea to let your audience sit there and go, well, what happened? Or what I plan on doing is listening, because in those sounds, you could probably hear what happened to her at the end of the movie, because you hear her being dragged, you hear her crying and screaming out to her mom, and then it cuts just like the audio, as if now she is a part of that she's got her own file. She is a part of whatever is going on. So yeah, that is why I give this movie an 8. Very good movie. I think this is one you should definitely see in the theaters to get that full experience. And I think it's a movie that shocked me. And also, this movie was only made for 500,000. It's already done 1.5 million. That is fucking, like, this is what I mean with, like, these are the kind of movies that people always talk about they want to see. And this is what Hollywood should take notes on, because literally this movie to me was such an experience, and it's made at such a price that it's already made its money back. Like, this movie is, I'm sure, going to do great, and I'm sure with the word of mouth, it's being highly talked about. Now, my biggest question, do I think this movie is the scariest movie of this year? Well, here's the thing with horror. First off, I hate people come out, scariest movie of the year. Motherfucker, we're not even halfway through this year, okay? I can't tell you if this is going to be my scariest movie of the year because the year isn't over. I make my scariest movie of the year based on December, because December's the end of the fucking calendar year. That's when we go. So I'm not going to sit here in March and be like, this is the scariest movies. This is it, folks. There's going to be nothing else scarier that comes out. Like, I'm not going to lie to you and say that. I don't think that that I can make a call going, oh, yeah, this is it. But I can tell you this is a strong contender for the movie that scared me so far this year. No movie I've seen, and I mean, I've seen 28 Days Later, Bone Temple, and like all of these other movies were uneasy, but genuinely scaring me. At least so far from what I've seen, this movie has scared me the most this year so far. Now, will it scare you? I don't fucking know you. It would be a bold claim for me to sit here and tell you guys, this movie's gonna fucking knock your socks off. This movie, you're gonna shit yourself in the theater. This movie is so scary. Grab a fucking diaper, because I guarantee you're gonna be poo-pooing yourself all over the place. Now, I can't say that because I don't know you personally. What I can say is, if you are susceptible and you are unnerved by ambient noises and visuals that mess around with your eyes and kind of trick you into seeing things that may or may not be there, if you get nervous on movies that create a very unsettling atmosphere, hell, maybe this might be their scariest movie. There's some people that say Skidamarink, which I think is a fantastic visual movie. They fucking hate the movie. They're like, I don't get it. It's a bunch of fucking pictures and nonsense. There's some people who came out and said, this movie is it. There will be nothing else that's scarier than this movie. It's a fucking masterpiece. I will fucking kill your whole family if you don't agree with me. Like, and I say, you can't say that either way, because horror, by its very nature, is subjective, and it's tailored to specific people who may have that fear. If things like this scare you, then this is going to scare the ever-loving shit out of you. If you are scared when you're sitting there at night, and maybe you look in the corner and you go, was there fucking something there? Or am I just fucking blitzed? Like, then maybe, yeah, it just might scare the ever-living shit out of you. For me, this got to me because of that uncomfortable feeling. It's the myth that's built around this, the feeling of children being in direct danger, mixed with the audio and how it is not used, how it's not amplified, how it's not made to be this big, loud, obnoxious thing. It's very subtle, it's very light, and it makes you question what you're watching. That to me is scary. When I'm questioning whether or not I saw something, that to me is more terrifying than actually seeing it. Like, maybe the director did put it there, or maybe they wanted you to think they put something there. That to me is the mark of good horror. when a movie lets its audience scare themselves, right? Doesn't treat you like a kid. And I think a lot of problem with especially mainstream budgeted horror movies, and why these A24 films resonate with people and why they like these kind of independent movies, is because it's not sitting there and treating you like a fucking 2-year-old. This movie is letting you try to decipher what you're hearing. Is Eva right? Is this all in his mind? Are you listening to this for an hour and a half and you are literally going fucking crazy like she is? Maybe it's not real. Maybe she's just feeling fucking nuts. Maybe whatever's in the sound, you just go crazy. Maybe listening to it fucks with your head. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's nothing supernatural. Or maybe it's a fucking demonic entity in a sound bite that was never meant to listen to that now spread to everyone. That's, to me, what makes this such an awesome horror movie. And not necessarily the ending, because a movie has to end and everybody's going to bitch. And, with something that forces you to build up in your mind what's going on, when you don't get to see it, it's frustrating, because you want to be, how do I say it? You want to be vindicated on your assumption. You want to be like, oh yeah, I fucking called it. I knew it was a demonic thing or whatever. And when a movie doesn't answer that question and says, no, what do you think it was? Well, that pisses people off, because then you got to be like, well, I don't fucking know what it was. I want you to tell me what it was. That's why I'm fucking watching this. What do you mean? What do I think? Right? But that to me is good horror, right? John Carpenter, all of these, Wes Craven, all of these great horror directors, right? The best horror comes for the things we can't explain, the things that have no explanation, or the things that are greater than what our comprehension can, decipher, right? Like, look at The Thing, or look at In the Mouth of Madness, Prince of Darkness, or Wes Craven with the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream, things like that. All of these movies resonate and work because they don't treat the audience like fucking idiots. And they ask you to actually fucking think. They ask you to decide what you think happened. It's up to you, right? And it's our innate fears. The most powerful thing a movie can do is let you create the scenario. What do you think happened? What do you think the ending is? So, closing this video off, it's not going to be a big bitching fest, because honestly, this is a good palate cleanser after Scream 7. This is exactly what I needed. And it's kind of hilarious that a movie like Scream 7, to me, is nowhere near the kind of caliber that this movie had with a $500,000 budget. That's fucking insane. It is crazy to me how I feel like this movie greatly eclipses anything done in the new Scream, which is fucking sad. And this is exactly what I needed to get upbeat and be prepared for the horror season. So in the comments below, let me know. First of all, what did you think of this movie? And secondly, more after you've seen this movie, what do you think the entity was? What do you think the ending means? What is your interpretation of this film? Really, I want you to tell me what you think everything means. Like, what is the ending to you? Do you think there was something there? Do you think this just drove people crazy? Maybe it was just an auditory thing and it just drove them mad. Was there a demon? I mean, in the comments below, let me know. What do you think it all means? And tell me if you found this scary. And if you didn't, what scares you? What scary movie? What thing? For me, this scared me because I'm a writer, so I visually create things. But the other thing that terrifies me is the movie The Descent, because I really hate enclosed spaces. And I think people who cave dive are fucking insane. I would never do that. So The Descent and this movie are my top ones that, like, I watched The Descent so many fucking times. I still will be nervous as fuck watching that movie when they're climbing through, like going through those tight rock corridors and shit. It scares the ever loving shit out of me. But yeah, let me know your fears and what's going on. I got some exciting news. I am actually closing in on finishing my first novel. I've had a lot going on, and also too, I've got some recent news. I don't want to announce anything till it's definite, but I may have been in a better position to where I might be able to do this more, and I may even start up my own kind of horror podcast. Where I just talk down and break up horror movies and things like that, because I'm really enjoying, especially these days, talking about horror. And I'd really like to create a podcast talking about this stuff. So I may actually work on my own podcast and things like that. Also, too, I may be creating a series here of pre-recorded videos. If you're a video game fan, I will be breaking down Slay the Spire. I have so far like 30-40 hours in the game, possibly, since it came out. I don't know. I'd have to look up my time on Steam. But I might be talking about deck building and kind of beginner's guide for people who want to kind of do that. So I might shoot a couple videos through the week, kind of breaking down what the game is, why it's one of the greatest rogue-like card deck builders ever created. And so I'm going to create some videos for that, and then make a whole like tier list and see how it does, see what people think of it. But anyways, thank you everybody for watching. Definitely go check this out. Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube things. Hit that hype button. There's a hype button too. I don't know. YouTube is always adding some shit on here. So, anything that really pushes it through the algorithm, do that little thumbs up thing, and, do the like thing, and share it with your dad, your grandpa, your dog, anybody who loves these kind of videos. Anyways, that's all I got for you. Thank you very much for watching. This movie is an 8 out of 10. It is probably going to be in my top 3 horror movies of this year, and I'm so glad that I went to see this. And as always, remember, there is only one rule here in the fandom zone: kneel before General Zod.